Hello and welcome to the Halliwell Jones Stadium. For the next hour we are previewing the season ahead and talking Rugby League.
He's got it down!
That's the Tigers. This is your moment to savour.
Ellis! Ellis has got this down this time. Chase on in Luke Gale with a drop goal! He has kicked it, Luke Gale! What a night for the end of a pulsating season. The Rhinos are the Super League champions again.
What a season we had as well, and of course it all starts again tomorrow night here at the Halliwell Jones Stadium. Delighted to welcome two legends of the game, Paul Sculthorpe and Adrian Morley. But let's find out what else we've got coming up in the next hour.
I bought a boat actually.
Yeah, it was, mate. Yeah, it could, mate. Yeah, unbelievable, mate. Yeah, thank you, mate.
We've got to believe you win. The best players always believe they can win.
Betfred, passionate about Super League. Try my best.
Betfred, passionate about Super League.
Betfred, passionate about Super League.
So plenty coming up in the next hour. Of course, it's all about this trophy in October at the grand final at Old Trafford as well. This man alongside me picked it up 4 times. Adrian Morley picked it up once as well and won the championship in Australia as well. Scully, obviously you don't play anymore. Just as excited about the start of the season?
Very much so. It's been a long off season, after a successful World Cup competition, and very much looking forward to Super League kicking off, and what a great game to start with.
Adrian, you were with me at the grand final. Leeds did it, of course. Can they defend their crown?
They can, and if you look at Leeds, they've got the experience. They were quite average at times last year, but they had the players there to get it right in the big games. So Leeds can certainly defend the title. I was really pleased to be part of their group last year, and we had a bit of fun in the changing rooms after the final whistle. But Leeds, amongst other teams, certainly will be challenging for it. I think this is the most evenly contested Super League we're going to see ever.
OK, before we talk about the Super League in depth, which starts tomorrow night here at the Halliwell Jones Stadium, you were both in Australia. You were the England side. What do you think those lads learnt in the World Cup?
We certainly learnt a lot, and it was a great competition, and for England, looking 6-0 in the final against Australia, I think it was a hugely successful campaign for England, and something certainly to build on for 2021 when we obviously bring the World Cup back to the UK.
And we're here obviously talking about the Super League as well. Is it something for the sport to build on as well? I mean, there was 2 million watching it on the BBC, wasn't it? Got plenty of coverage. It got to a World Cup final. Wouldn't it be great if we got more people through a turnstile?
We keep saying this, and we're already converted. We know it's the greatest game on earth, and what we've got as well is the product on the field, and that should be number one. And we've got to keep growing our game and keep spreading that word, because as you say, very successful World Cup, and look to build on that now over the next 4 years, and have a home World Cup, and hopefully England winners.
Mozza, you played in the NRL, you won it of course as well. I mean, 6-0 against the Australians, that is a good result in that final, isn't it?
It is a good result if you look at the fact that it was in Australia, and they were red hot favourites going into the tournament, so they can take a lot from it. But you know, it's a game of inches and centimetres, and when Callum Watkins got his ankle tapped, it could have been a different story. But I think they were just lacking a knockout punch, England. But very gallant. You know, we can take a lot from a 6-0 defeat. Some of the Aussie boys said it was one of the toughest games that they've ever played in, which is
it was a brutal final.
It was brutal, particularly that second half. The Aussies were out on the feet. You know, I've not seen that for the last 20 years, where the Aussie team were out on the feet, and I thought they did great. And as Scully just said, if we can build on that, take confidence from that, if we get them on our home turf, who knows what could happen.
Okay, well, this is our second season of sponsoring the Super League, and we're delighted here at Betfred. We've extended our sponsorship to the Championship and League One as well, which we'll be talking about later in the show. But we are going to concentrate on the start of Super League. It starts here tomorrow night, live on Sky, Warrington versus Leeds. Let's have a look at the odds to win the grand final. I'll get Scully to explain the competition very, very shortly. Look, I know there's plenty of you watching now who know about it, but there'll be plenty of you watching who don't know about it. So to actually win the grand final is the last game at Old Trafford. And basically what happens, Scully, we have 23 matches, don't we, in the regular season, and in a top 8 playoff, and we get 4 that play 2 semi-finals and a final.
That's correct. That's the format. So obviously, you know, the aim is to firstly get in that top 8 and finish as high as you can to get the best home games there is to obviously make the semi-finals, and then obviously the top 4 playoff and the top 2 go to Old Trafford on the big occasion.
And right now we have got 3 co-favourites. Castleford, of course, beaten finalists last year. They are 9-2. St Helens, we're talking about St Helens in detail with Scully, of course. New coach, he joined in May, he's had a pre-season, Justin Holbrook. And Wigan are all 9-2. And here at Betfred, we are top price. We're top price, whoever you fancy, to win the grand final in October. Whoever you fancy, we are currently the top price as well. And last season showed as well, Moz, look, Castleford, they won the league by 10 points. They were the best team all year, but they didn't lift a trophy because Leeds beat them in the final.
Yeah, well,
it's about one game, isn't it, at the end?
It is about one game, and you know, other sports, you know, football, for example, it's first past the post. Rugby League used to be like that. It's not like that anymore. It's if you get it right, you know, at the grand final. Castleford were flying high all year, but they didn't get it right on the night, and you know, Leeds went to show that if you get it right, you can get your hands on it. But Castleford will take solace from the fact that there's an old saying that you've got to lose a grand final to win a grand final. I mean, them boys will be better for the experience next year, and Darryl Powell will be drilling that into him, and he'll be hoping to go one better.
We'll hear from Darryl Powell a little later in the show as well. You can actually bet on the regular season as well, which is the 23 matches, and the regular season odds are coming up on screen for you right now. And after those 23 games, then we split into the top 8, and then we've got the qualifiers as well. Quickly explain the qualifiers, Scully.
So the qualifiers, obviously, top 8 playoff, finish as high as you can. You get 3 home games, 4 away games. Obviously, if you're in the bottom 4, the opposite in obviously the top 4, and then they play off to finish in the top 4 positions, 1v4 and 2v3.
Okay, and if you've never watched it before, watch it on Sky Sports tomorrow night. It is a fantastic sport. It can be a brutal sport as well. It can be a really physical sport as well. And we're hopefully going to teach you about Super League in the next hour here live at the Halliwell Jones Stadium. But let's turn our attention to the champions. They did it at the grand final at Old Trafford last October, and it was Brian McDermott's 4th grand final win in 7 years. And I spoke to Brian earlier on this week. First of all, congratulations on last year. 4 grand final wins in 7 years.
Yes. It's all right, isn't it? Bit more to go yet, though.
Was last year more special?
We had a couple of adverse years at Leeds. It's been a real good journey, and every time we win a grand final, it would seem there's been a level of adversity to it. So I won't say like 2017 was the best win ever, but it probably had the best story behind it, because the story started at the end of 2015. The actual story started Boxing Day 2015 when we got flooded out of Kirkstall where we train. So We didn't have anywhere to train, building up for the 2016 pre-season, and literally we were driving in cars to different patches of grass around Leeds. It was the wettest winter ever. All the 3G fields were booked out. We couldn't find anywhere quality to train up until about April, May time, by which time my team were out of condition, hadn't had the practice, hadn't had the 10,000 hours on the field, and we just weren't in good shape at all. So we spent the majority of 2016 being awful, really, and not being able to do much about it, because then we had injuries, and a lot of my team is on the sidelines, and there was some element of 2016 that we just had no control over. And you know, we conceded as well, we weren't good as well, and I should have recognised how big a deal getting flooded out of our training complex was. So all through 2016 meant we was in a relegation battle towards the back end. Then we go into the 2017 season and weren't quite great, but not bad. We were just a good 7 out of 10 all year, which wasn't good enough for people, because our margin for error was almost zero after the previous year. So it just seemed that the players and staff, we all just seemed to be under a dark cloud, under pressure every single week, and it started to become immensely draining. It was an harsh environment to be in. So to win the grand final, you know, and to finish off like we did, it was a great cap off. It was a great final chapter to a great story, which I've told a million times, and I don't mind telling it. So, but in terms of the best win ever, you know, we want to be a better team. You know, in 2015 we did the treble, and we were the best team in the comp, and we led from the front, and everybody wanted to be as good as we were and couldn't be, and we ended up winning the competition. That was a way better feeling. That I would say that was the best win ever, but certainly the best story ever in 2017.
You got a chance of making a bit of history quite early on this season with this trip to go and play the Melbourne Storm. No English side have won in Australia since Wigan, 24 years.
Yeah, I know, it's a big task, isn't it? And it is, and they're a good team, Melbourne. And I'm not, I don't like using cliches, but it's true that they're regarded as one of the best teams who have ever played in the NRL. And for us to go out there and beat them is going to be a big ask. And I think you've got to get that in your head first before you start devising any game plan or any strategy about beating them. Is to not sit there flippantly and say, oh no, we should be okay. If we keep hold of the ball and we have enough field position, we'll win. That's not true. I don't think we can go out there and trade punches with Melbourne and play a usual game. I think we've got to come up with something a little bit different without compromising how we want to play as well. So it's a tall order, and for us to beat them, you're right, it's something that no English team's done. But if you ask me, could we do it? Yeah, we can. We can go out there and do that. Absolutely can go out there and do that, but you just got to make sure that you understand the task at hand to start with.
Do you think it'd be a good experience for the squad as well?
I do, yeah, I do. I mean, travelling to Australia, it's a challenge, because we play 2 rounds of Super League first, then we get in the aeroplane straight after, fly 12,000 miles, play a game 6 days later, then get back on the aeroplane and come back to England and go play a Widnes 6 days after that. So there's a challenge in it. But the reward is that you get regarded as the best team in the world, and you do something which nobody's done or nobody thinks we can do. So I think that supersedes any of the challenges or some of the obstacles that you might say is in place.
As coach of the champions, what's the aim this season then?
Our aim? Do it again. Do it again. I've just been asked a question about what are your goals? What do you do for goal setting? We don't set goals, because we don't talk about top 4. We can't talk about top 4 being acceptable. You know, it's not something that it's expected that we'll get to a final. It's expected that we'll win something, and that's the environment that we're in every single year. So it's great. That's it. So it is a tough environment to work in, but it's brilliant as well. You know, I say this about anybody in any industry. If you got given a task about an opportunity to go do a job, and it's at the coalface, it's at the absolute pinnacle of your industry, do you want to go do the job? I think everybody would say yes. And those that would say, no, I don't want to do that because it sounds a bit too tough for me, they're probably in the wrong job, aren't they? So let's go win the grand final again, and it's going to be tough. And each week we've got the big bullseye in our chest because we're champions, but can't wait for it.
Yes, that's Brian McDermott's 4th grand final win in 7 years. Adrian, you were part of the Leeds setup last year, and I saw you at the Jungle when he got hammered by Castleford. A lot of people thought Brian McDermott was a dead man walking and he was going to get the boot.
They did after the season previous as well, where he was extremely lucky to keep his job, and that was it wasn't just a defeat, it was humiliating, it really was. Come under a lot of pressure. I mean, a lot of fans were calling for his head, but he stuck at it, and it goes to show if you stick at it and you manage the side all year, you don't have to be the best all year. In fact, you have to compete, but he won't want too many defeats like that. But just goes to show he managed the team all year and got it right just when the time was right. So to go from the previous year where they was in the middle eights to that soul destroying defeat at Castleford to champions, it takes a fantastic coach, and I certainly learnt a lot from Brian last year. He was a great man manager and a great coach.
I think he's very strong mentally as well, isn't he?
He is. His background is he was in the Marines before he was a professional rugby league player. So
he's hard.
He's an hard man, but you need to be extremely mentally strong to do that job, and also to be a player in the front row. And he played for his club and country, and he took it into his coaching. And to me, he just gets it. He gets how to manage a team, how to coach a team, and his record speaks for itself. You don't win. 4 grand finals in 7 years. If you're a duffer, so he did very well.
And how do you think Leeds will do this campaign then?
Do you know what? I think they'll be up there again. The too strong a squad not to be competing, but I feel the loss of Danny Maguire will affect them harsh.
And Rob Burrows, well.
And Rob Burrows,
Two big names in the dressing room.
2 big names, legends of the game, legends of the Leeds club. So to lose 2 like that, it's a bit similar to when they lost Peacock and Sinfield a couple of years before. It did have an effect. So I mean, just how they went last year, they just sort of was average, going along, and bang, they found a knockout punch. But whether they'll be able to find it this year, I'm not too sure.
Well, let's hear from one of his senior players, Ryan Hall, talking about the loss of Danny Maguire and Rob Burrow. Dressing room a bit different this year. No Danny Maguire, no Rob Burrow.
The dressing room is going to be very different this year, especially at Headingley, seeing as there's no dressing room at the moment. It's been knocked down, but it's getting rebuilt, and hopefully that'll be up to speed in 2019. But the atmosphere within the change rooms, it's going to have a different dynamic. But the team's gone through a progression like this before. When we lost the likes of Kevin Sinfield, Jamie Peacock and Kyle Luluwai at the end of 2015, we probably didn't react to that the best. Going into 16, obviously we didn't do the best, so we're well ready, and we know what challenges that offers, and we know how to overcome them.
Ryan Hall there. We touched on it. Leeds have got the experience now, because obviously in 2015 they lost JP and Kevin Sinfield as well, so there's a bit more of experience in that Leeds dressing room now, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. There's some good young players as well, who've come through, and obviously they've recruited, Richard Myler at half-back as well. But losing 2 key players in Maguire and Burrow, they are icons of the club and throughout the Super League era, and they're going to be big boots to fill. I think we've seen in the grand final how important them players are.
Danny Maguire was superb, wasn't he?
One of his best games, but he's a tremendous player and always has been, and obviously a great capture for Hull KR for this year. And it's a big ask, and as I say, it can be very much a transition period for Leeds again. What
did you think of Leeds last season? Because at times they struggled, but at the end of the day, in the record books, fair champions.
That's all that matters. Is obviously that final game at Old Trafford, and if you can find a way of getting there. And obviously Leeds, they had that big game experience. They've been there and done it several times. A lot of them players have played in previous grand finals, and Moz spoke about Castleford potentially this year. If they make it this year, they know what to expect. They've tasted it, and they know what they've got to do better. And Leeds knew how to do that, and certainly Danny Maguire, he run the show from start to finish and was unbelievable for Leeds, and I think a fitting way for him and certainly Rob Burrow, who retired on the back of that game.
And we spoke about mental toughness. They showed mental toughness at semi-final as well against Hull, didn't they?
They did. Again, that was a game.
It could have gone either way.
And it takes a really strong group effort to get the win. I seen how emotional Brian McDermott was after that game, and I think he didn't expect. he knew it could have gone either way. But once we were in the final, we spoke before the grand final, when them boys are coming out of the changing rooms and all the flares are going off and the hairs are standing up on your neck. If you're not used to it, you could get startled in the headlights. And I think Castleford were to a degree, and as Scully said, the Leeds boys had the experience, and it certainly told on the night.
Callum Watkins is the new Leeds captain. Of course, you've worked with him out in Australia for England. A good choice?
I think a great choice, and obviously a great player, and one, this may give Callum that extra incentive to lead the way and open up as a player as well. I think, an absolute genuine natural talent. So this, just giving him that bit more respect and involvement in the team and making decisions. I think will bring him out even more in Callum's game.
Let's wrap up about Leeds. We've got another 11 clubs to talk about. Of course, they have got this trip to Australia. Melbourne Storm they're playing after 2 games. This could take it out of them, couldn't it? And also, no English side won in Australia since, Wigan in 1994. 24 years. He wants to make history, does Brian McDermott.
Of course he does, and rightly so. And obviously, we in England want Leeds to go out and do that and represent our game. And it is a big ask. Certainly 2 games into the season, there'll be a few bangs and bruises, and then obviously 24-hour flight to Australia is not what's needed. But it's what they've been dealt with, and I'm sure they'll go over there and do a job.
But Melbourne Storm are a hell of a team.
Oh, they're a hell of a team. The most consistent side in Australia. They've been for the last 4 or 5 years. So to beat them anyway would be a tough order. But to go to their own backyard after the flight, it's going to be very, very tough. But I think the English boys will take a lot from the World Cup. They'll take a lot of confidence from that. So we'll all have our fingers crossed back here, and let's hope they do well.
Well, Brian McDermott says they've got a bullseye on the chest. Of course, everyone wants to beat the champions. They start tomorrow night here at the Halliwell Jones Stadium against Warrington. Where are Leeds going to finish this year then, Scully?
Oh, they'll be
I think you tipped him to finish out of the top 8 again last year.
No, I didn't. No,
you said he wouldn't finish in the top 4.
That was only because I was stuck with JP, and yeah.
You said Leeds wouldn't finish in the top 4 last year.
No, I didn't. I think I had a little wager with JP there, and I remember picking some cash up as well. So, no, Leeds are going to be up there. They've still got a lot of quality, and obviously made some good signings as well. Some big recruitment. But as I said, there is big boots to fill in. I know we keep talking about them, Maguire and Burrow, but they were that important to Leeds over the past 15 years.
Where are we going to finish then?
I think top 4. Where in that top 4, I'm not too sure. But
just remember, by the end of the show, we can only have 4 teams in the top 4. You know that, don't we?
Yeah. No, definitely the top 4. I think they're 2 well coached and two stronger squad. So I think in the top 4.
Okay, well, let's turn our attention to Leeds' opponents tomorrow night. Of course, it's here at the Halliwell Jones. They're playing Warrington. Disappointing season last year after reaching the grand final as well. They're in the qualifiers in the end, but they've got a new coach. Let's hear from Steve Price. Congratulations, new coach for Wolves. How have you found it so far?
Yeah, really exciting. Everyone within the organisation, all the players have embraced the change, and there's been a number of new recruits I brought in. A lot of change of personnel from high performance staff to coaching staff, so it's really positive signs for the footy club, and there's a really good vibe.
What did you think when Warrington came knocking on the door?
I've watched Super League for quite a while now, and I always thought that Warrington were a fantastic footy club, and always had aspirations to get back in the hot seat, and there's no better place to be a head coach of this great club.
Obviously, disappointment before you joined last season. I mean, Warrington shouldn't be finishing 9th, should they?
Yeah, well, I can't really control what's happened. That was last season, and there's a lot of new players and a lot of new coaching staff who weren't there last year. So, what we can control is now, present, the moment, and that's been our main focus, is about new beginnings from we first come together in November 1, and everyone within the organisation are embracing the change.
What do you think you can bring to Warrington?
Yeah, definitely. A winning attitude, and the experiences I've had and grown back overseas in Australia. I'd like to think that I can bring a couple of those ideas, and hopefully that we can be a tough football team and strive to play the big games at the back end of the season.
What are the aims for this season?
playing on the big stage. We need to be playing big games, but it's important that we do the process right, and it's week to week and being a consistent footy team. And if we do that, then we're going to give ourselves every chance come the back end of the season.
And a tough start, Leeds at home to kick off the season.
Yeah, that's right. There's no better way to play the reigning premiers on your home turf at Halliwell Jones Stadium. So hopefully we can get a sell-out crowd and get into and have a tough match against Leeds next Thursday.
And you enjoying life at Warrington?
Yeah, really enjoying it. It's a fantastic town, fantastic people in the organisation, and just really enjoying my time around Warrington, and it's a terrific footy club.
That's the new Warrington coach, Steve Price, tomorrow night at 7:45. It'll be welcome to the Super League, Steve Price, won't it?
It will be. It'll be a big game to obviously kick the season off, and a lot of pressure on Warrington to obviously respond from that last year, and I think they will. It's a completely different club now. Obviously, Steve Price at the helm. Big changes after obviously Tony Smith being the longest serving coach in Super League, and obviously Andrew Henderson, who's one of the assistants as well, come up from London. A great year with London, and made some great signings as well. Obviously Tyrone Roberts, and for me, one that stands out as well is Ben Murdoch-Masilla. I think he was outstanding for Salford.
He had a great season at Salford, didn't he?
Oh, he did. Yeah, very
lost
tough.
to Salford.
Huge loss. Very, very tough to stop. Very dynamic. He'll be a great addition. But if you look at the squad at Warrington last year, it was very similar to the year before, who made the grand final, made the Challenge Cup final, won the league leaders. So I just thought losing becomes habit as well as winning, and I just thought they got into a bit of a rut last year. So I think new year, new coach, and when you get a new coach, you try and impress him. So I think all the pieces of the jigsaw are coming together for Warrington, and I think they're going to surprise a few this year.
I know a few Warrington fans are taking out from what Leeds did, because of course in 2016 Leeds were in the qualifiers and go and do the grand final. Can Warrington do that this year?
Why not? As you just mentioned, Leeds, gone from grand final winners to the middle eights, and Warrington did that. But there's no reason why they can't. I think in years gone by, you think there was a bit of a tear in terms of the talent of the teams, but it's so evenly contested now. If you're getting a roll winning, as getting a roll losing, you can be up there or down there. So they just need to keep winning, and we'll see what it takes them.
Scully, what do you think went wrong at Warrington last year? Because we were stood here this time last year, ahead of the season. I mean, a lot of people were tipping Warrington.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to remember as well, the game kicked off with that game against Brisbane as well, and it was what a game that was, and I think you just get in that run of bad luck, and not bad luck, and lack of confidence, and I just think it grew from there. And I don't know, you couldn't pick it, because the amount of talent on that Warrington team, you couldn't pick a season like they had, and you look at other things as well. Injuries, obviously, one massive bonus for them. It's like a new signing this year is obviously Ben Curry. He's fully fit. He missed all of last year, through injury, and I just think it'll be a completely different club.
Okay then, where are Warrington going to finish?
I think it'll be top four.
Right, so that's 2 in top 4 now. Just keep counting.
Yep, top 4. That's two for me. Top 4, definitely.
Going to be some big teams missing out on the top 4 this year then. So you fancy Warrington to definitely be in the top 4?
Yeah, Warrington will be in the top 4.
Yep.
Do
you agree?
I agree 100%.
Right, let's turn our attention to last year's beaten finest. They were superb all season. They won the regular season at a canter in the end, but they fell short in the grand final. Let's hear from their coach, Darryl Powell.
Right, Darryl, what season you had last season?
Oh yeah, obviously 10 points clear at the top of the table. We were so consistent that we played a brand of rugby league that we wanted to. That we set out right from the start. Obviously disappointed grand final. Just an off day from us. Leeds were fantastic, and there we go. We're back into it now. Looking forward to the challenge ahead.
That philosophy of open rugby league, where did that come from? Is it something you've always thought you wanted to play as you've developed as a coach?
Oh yeah, well I think at Castleford, I was at Featherstone before that, and we played a similar way. You get to Castleford 2014 onwards, I think we've tried to play in a way that we believe as a coaching staff is right for us. I mean, classic Cass is the way that Castlefords have been termed over the history, and we've tried to live up to that.
For next season, everyone's going to see you as a huge scalp, aren't they? What are you going to do to combat that? Because everybody wants to beat you as the team of the season in many people's eyes.
Well, you've just got to play well. I mean, you've got to be aware that you've got to prepare for every game. Teams are going to come and challenge you. You've got to use it as motivation to bring the best out of you. And I think we'll do that. I think we're aware of the challenges that are ahead. There's some unknown quantities. There's new coaches coming in the Super League. Justin Holbrook's had a pre-season with St Helens. Wakefield were great last year. Hull are a real challenge. I just think it's an interesting, exciting competition this year, and we're really looking forward to it.
So this is what it's all about, of course, the Betfred Super League trophy. Castleford beaten 24-6 in the grand final last year. So we've just heard from Daryl Powley. He's bought a boat to relax now. Been tough being a coach, of course, so he's relaxing by buying a boat. He's going to relax this season, or is he going to find it tough, Scully?
It's going to be a tough season, and obviously Castleford are going to be a club where everybody wants to raise the game for as well. As you said, by far the best team all the way through the season last year, the regular season.
By 10 points.
To win it by 10 points, I think obviously the biggest margin that any team has won the regular season. Just showed how good they were throughout the year, but obviously them wheels fell off come grand final time. But massively successful season for Castleford, and one that they'll want to go one better this year.
What happened in that grand final, do you think, to Castleford?
A little bit of inexperience. I think that the lead up with the news about Zach Hardacre certainly didn't help the situation. So probably them two combinations, the fact that Leeds have been there and done that as well, and they did try hard in that grand final, but they just didn't have the answers to what Leeds was throwing at them. So they'll be better for the experience. Whether they emulate that, I'm not too sure. I think they're going to be up there, but I don't think they'll be as successful. I think teams are going to raise the game against them, and it'll be tough for them to get on a roll again as they were last year.
How big a blow was that, Zach Hardacre? And how big a blow it's going to be? He's not going to be there this season, is he? No,
massive blow for Castleford, massive blow for the game, massive blow for England, because no doubt he'd have been part of that.
Because he had a great season, didn't
he? I mean, he's a great kid, is Zach, and a great player. He'd had a phenomenal season. Obviously, the week before was in the top three for the Man of Steel. I was talking to him at the event. It was the Tuesday of the grand final before
it came out Thursday morning. The news.
So I mean, it was a massive bombshell for Castleford, certainly, because he played a massive part of their season, and certainly on their attacking game was a major part of that. They were obviously looking to win that grand final. So a big bombshell, but they move on, and I know there's talk now of obviously Ben Roberts moving to that full-back position, who himself is a fabulous player.
I hate to remind you, but you've lost the first ever grand final as well, of course. You can bounce back though, can you? You must have learnt from that first grand final.
Without a doubt, because the following year we went all the way to Wembley and won the Challenge Cup final, so they will take a lot of confidence from that appearance. And I've said before, they say you've got to lose one to win one, and the fact that they've been there, this year, that they'll be open to be competing for these trophies.
And obviously, no Zach Hardacre, but you still got Michael Shenton. I thought he had a fantastic season.
Yeah, Shen is a great player and a great leader for them as well. Captain and leads the way with his own performance. He's been a great player for Castleford in two stints. Obviously, come to St Helens for a couple of years and went back to Cass and carried on. Where he left from. Obviously, it's obviously a place that he loves his rugby.
Okay, they were involved in the best game last season. You probably want to look away now, Scully. It's the semi-final against St Helens. So let's just remind ourselves of this penalty, because Saints were 22-10 down. They got it level. Luke Gale with a penalty kick, and then of course the golden point as well. Let's just remind ourselves of that semi-final.
Last tackle here. Milner, Gale. Here is Gale. Gale slides the kick in. Barber picks it up.
They've got a penalty.
They've got a penalty. This for the greatest rescue package they've seen in Castleford for years. Luke Gale then. He has kicked the goal. For the first time ever, we're going to get golden point extra time in a playoff in the Super League. Luke Gale wants it. Luke Gale wants it. Luke Gale is going to get the ball, a big chase on him. Luke Gale with a drop goal! He has kicked it, Luke Gale! Luke Gale circumstances.
That was the first semi-final with Castleford booking their place to the grand final, and I know you're not going to admit it, but what a game!
It was an unbelievable game and a great advert certainly for Super League, and heartbreaking for Saints. They were a couple of seconds off making the grand final, and our games were getting better and better. And I know one player who we spoke about earlier, Ben Barber. It was a tough ask for him coming into Super League so late on. Obviously, played months out of the game, but he was getting better and better every game. And would have loved to have seen him on the big stage in the grand final, but it wasn't to be. And massive respect to Luke Gale. He led Castleford all year, and to step up and make it look so effortless, that penalty kick to obviously take it to golden point, and then I think there was only ever one man who was going to slot that drop goal over.
We talk about Castleford learning. Justin Holbrook said to me that Saints have learned from that experience. I mean, to be 22-10 down, to come back, they've watched the game, they've spoken about it, they've said they've learned from that disappointment. Yeah,
I think they showed true Saints spirit there. I know one thing that we've always said about the club, and when I played as well, it was you never write off the Saints, and they're always capable of coming back. And I think just the great determination to get themselves back into that game and put themselves in contention. And I think that was the hardest thing after the game was, they'd done that, and that game was there for the taking. And, certainly build on that this year. Obviously, Justin coming midway through the season. He's had a full pre-season now with the boys, and he's a great fella. And I think that is one of the biggest parts of a good coach is your man management and how much your players take to you and how much they respect you. And he's got ultimate respect at St Helens.
Well, we're going to talk about Saints in detail, of course, but let's just finish off about Castleford. We mentioned Luke Gale. We saw him with that drop goal to book their place in the grand final. He was voted a man of steel as well. Let's hear from Luke.
What's the aim this season? Is it obvious?
Yeah, look, we want to go one further than last year and playing all the big games.
Can you do it?
Yeah, I believe we can. We've kept our same team. We've added a couple of additions who've been real good in the pre-season games. So I'm sure we can put it up to the rest of the Super League. Yeah.
Can that disappointment make you stronger?
100%. Yeah, that's what we've got to use it as. We've spoke a lot about motivation and how that should drive us this year. And just looking at the first few months of pre-season, I believe that it has done, and it'll continue to be that way throughout the year.
And on a personal level, what did you learn from the England World Cup experience?
First of all, just a great 8 week with a great set of lads. Same again in that in that World Cup final. We just came short against a fantastic Australia side, but look, we played in some tough games, travelling week to week, and basically just the tough tight games, and the real edge of your seat stuff, and it's the last 5 minutes there, the crucial parts of the game, and that Australia game, an ankle tap, probably were the difference in the two sides. So it was a fantastic experience, and one I'll remember for a long time.
It was a close final, it was a brutal final as well. Can Super League build on that momentum of the World Cup?
Yeah, look, we've bridged the gap in countries. Obviously, Australia have been at the forefront of Rugby League for a lot of years now, and I think that we are bridging the gap. We've got a great young side, and hopefully that builds onto Super League this year.
And the first game, the fixture computer's thrown up a repeat of the semi-final.
Yeah, look, we had some really good games against them last year. We kind of struggled at their place, and we'll have to go there the first game of the season, and it's a tough place to go. But now I'm sure if it's half as good as the semi-final, Sky Sports will be entertained on that opening night.
As a final question, sell the Super League to me.
Good question. Just a lot of tough men, just giving their all really. With be it tough plays or a bit more skill, it's just an exciting game, and I reckon once you've seen one game of Super League, you'll be a supporter for life.
Luke Gale, of course, lifted the Steve Prescott MBE Man of Steel award. This man won the Man of Steel twice, 2 years running. What's it like to be voted the best player in the competition by your fellow pros?
Obviously, it's a massive accolade, but even more so the meaning of it, voted by your peers, the players. And I think if anybody a player's opinion respected most is by his fellow players. And obviously, Luke thoroughly deserved that. As I say, he led Castleford round the field. Last year, absolute tremendous season. And as I said, they were by far the best team. And if it had not won it on votes, prior to Man of Steel week, I think we'd have had to give it him anyway after that semi-final performance.
And that semi-final performance just came 10 days after an appendix operation.
Yeah.
That's Man of Steel, isn't it?
It is Man of Steel. That
operating table to the pitch in 10 days.
Exactly. Yeah, that typifies his character really. But as Scully said, every great team needs a great general. And it just goes to show how dominant Castleford were all year. It was quite a tragedy, really, that they didn't go all the way and get the ultimate prize, but at least he got the ultimate individual prize.
Right, well, Castleford kick off on Friday night away at St Helens. We've mentioned they've got a new coach. It's Justin Holbrook. Let's hear from the Aussie looking ahead to their game against Castleford.
We've had a really good pre-season, as you'd expect. Every team would have. So, looking forward to the season to start. We've got a good side, and as I said, we finished the season strongly. So, we're expecting to do well this year. I don't think we're any better than any other side. That's for sure. I think there's a lot of really good teams that showed last year how even the comp was. I think it'll be the same this year. But I'm okay with being one of the favourites. It sits okay with me. We've just got to deliver now.
Big game Friday. Be a full house, Castleford. I think we've said everything there is to say about Cass last season, but what are you expecting from Cass this season? Is it more of the same?
Yeah, I think so. What they did was very well. They finished 10 points clear of second spot, so you can't imagine them changing too much when you're travelling well. And obviously the talked about semi-final, unfortunate for us. So it's shaping up for a great game, and obviously Cass will be disappointed with their grand final performance. So I think round one to play them is going to be very exciting.
And how are you looking squad-wise? Have you got a full squad to pick from?
Yeah, we have, which is great. So yeah, we'll have our strongest side out there, and we'll be ready.
Justin Holbrook there, we'll talk about him in a moment. Thanks for all your comments, by the way. It was getting loads, I can't read them all. Jake here has said Castleford Tigers all the way. Noel Bateman has said increase the salary cap, it'll spoil the unpredictability. Well, we haven't probably got time to discuss the salary cap, we're off air at 7:30. We've got tips for Hull, we've got tips for Leeds as well. Look, really appreciate you all getting in touch as well. We'll try and read out some more comments later on. You'll have to bear with us. I mean, social networking when I was a lad was meeting your mates in the pub. The world has changed, hasn't it? I'm still not very good on this Facebook, but I do really appreciate all your comments. Right, comments about Justin Holbrook, positive.
Very, very positive. Great fella and doing a great job at Saints. Obviously I'm very fortunate to get an insight into St Helens, daily. And the boys are looking good. Obviously not a lot of changes from last year. Quite a settled squad. Everybody carried over, and obviously the only addition really, James Bentley, the young back row from Bradford who got championship player of the year.
But in many respects, Ben Barber having a pre-season is like a new signing, because we're seeing glimpses, weren't we, at the end? I mean, that game at Wigan, you were wondering, what kind of player had you signed, but towards the end of the season, Ben Barber was superb.
Yeah, he's a world class player. One of the best players. He got Player of the Year in Australia. No, he wasn't match fit. He'd not played for months, and I think I said it earlier. We've seen him getting better and better every game that he played and every minute that he played. Now he's on a level playing field with everybody else in Super League. He's had a full pre-season. He's looking good. He's feeling good. I was sat with Ben on Monday night at the launch dinner at Saints, and he looked sharp in the friendly on Friday against Lee. So very much looking forward to seeing Ben on the biggest stage, and certainly come summer when it's a dry track.
And a new skipper.
Yes, obviously James Roby. He's been an on-field skipper. All his career. He leads the way with his performance. He's not a massive talker. Robes is one who leads with his own performance, and obviously John Wilkin done a great job at Saints. But great to see James Roby get that captain's armband. It's thoroughly deserved, and again one of the outstanding players in the World Cup.
And a final word on new coach Justin Holbrook. You were with him in Australia.
I was, yeah. I had a season with him as a player at the Sydney Roosters, and if anyone was going to go on to coach, it was Justin. He was a great thinker of the game, and obviously got us round the field. And it's great that he's over here and very dedicated. And you've got to say, Satan's with the form team at the end of last year, and with the full pre-season under Justin, they're going to be up there definitely.
Right, the most pointless question I'm going to ask this evening. Where are Saints going to finish? In the top 4?
I've seen a lot of other people tipping this as well, but I had tipped Saints to win it. Just obviously seeing Justin, obviously like I say, I've got an insight, a full pre-season, obviously, and a very settled squad. The likes of Roby, Walmsley, Matt Percival, and obviously throw Barber in the mix as well. I think are all set for a good year. I know I've seen a tip off Phil Clark today, who was tipping Saints as well. So they must be in business.
Okay, so where
top,
is
yes,
Saints
top
4
4
as well.
Top 4, yeah.
So you can only put one more in the top 4.
Yes, I've done 3 now.
In the top 4. Right, we're very, very proud sponsors of the Super League, and as I mentioned early on, we're also now sponsors of the Championship and the League One. But we have got a very, very serious message, and it's from our boss, Fred. Watch this.
As the boss of Betfred for the last 50 years, our philosophy has always been bet your pocket, be gamble aware, and keep it fun. No one wants problem gamblers or broken families. That is not what we're about. If you feel you have a problem with gambling, please contact the helpline on 08 08 80 20 133. Our staff are here to help. Don't be afraid to ask. Alternatively, you can go online and click onto begambleaware.org for advice. And remember, bet your pocket, keep it fun, and please gamble responsibly.
Yeah, very, very important message. Look, we're proud to sponsor Rugby League, but if you do like a flutter on rugby, don't let betting get in the way of your enjoyment of Rugby League. Please keep it fun and gamble responsibly. A very, very important message. Let's turn our attention to Wigan now. Obviously, well, they had a hell of a game, didn't they, early on in the season to win the World Club Challenge. What happened at Wigan, Scully?
Yeah, again, very much like Warrington, started off the season with a tremendous win over Cronulla in the World Club Challenge, and then quite a disappointing season. No silverware at Wigan is a disappointing season, and I think they're in for a tough year. You never write Wigan off, but you look at 2 of the players who've lost, Anthony Gelling and Michael McIlorum, and only 2 signings come in. Obviously Dan Sargison for his second stint at Wigan, and Gabe Hamlin, the young front row from South. So you'd have to say on paper Wigan are starting the season weaker than they were last year. But as I say, don't write Wigan off. And very much like the Ben Barber situation in St Helens, I think having a fully fit Sam Tompkins back after a pre-season. I've seen quotes from Sam this week that he's 100%.
He'll be hurting
much,
as well, won't he?
Of course he will. And Sam wasn't fit halfway through last year, and he's a massive player for Wigan. A talisman for their club, and we all know what he can do as well. So if he's fully fit and on form, it's a different Wigan side.
Wigan fans are hurting.
Yeah, they are. I think I'm not saying they're one-man band by any stretch, but I think Sean O'Loughlin is so important to them. He has had his injury problems over the last couple of years, and if Sean is injured, I think they will struggle. So they need him fit and healthy for them to compete.
All right, they kick off at Salford on Friday night. Let's hear from their coach, Sean Wayne.
It's always a difficult one. I don't know why, but we always go to Salford this first game. But they've had a change of ownership. Mark Kukash has moved on, and they've got new owners, and that will rejuvenate them. And they'll play a little bit different. I'm not sure how they're going to play this weekend. I've watched every friendly they've played this year. They've got some very, very good talent in their team. They've got some real good match winners, and their edges are very, very strong. So I'm expecting them to play a typical Ian Watson team style of rugby, where they do throw things at you in good ball. And the games I've seen them play, the friendlies, I'm expecting a different Salford team this Friday, because when we seem to go there, they seem to improve on how they play massively. And so we're expecting a full-on game this weekend.
So Wigan kick off at Salford on Friday night. So where are Wigan going to finish then, Scully?
I've got Wigan in the top 4 as well.
Right, so now you have got 4 teams in the top 4.
I think it's going to be a tough season. As you say, you can't write off Wigan. They've still got a lot of quality in that squad, and it's how they perform.
I think they'll finish in the top 8 after 23 rounds, but I don't think they're going to make the top 4. I think 5th or 6th. I think that's where Wigan will finish.
OK, well, let's turn our attention to a team that did finish in the top 4. They had a tough semi-final against Leeds. That is Hull. How do you think Hull will do this campaign?
I think they're obviously a great side. Made a few changes in their team. Lost their skipper, Gaz Ellis, who obviously retired. Maher Fanua, who was one of the outstanding players for Hull for the last couple of years. I know they've brought in replacements there. They're a funny side, Hull, like obviously back-to-back Challenge Cup winners, but just have their inconsistencies on the day are capable of beating anybody. I've got Hull just outside the top 4.
So a team not finishing the top 4 for Scully. Hull play tomorrow night at home to Huddersfield. How do you see Hull this season?
No, I disagree. I think they will make the top 4. I think the fact that they've won at Wembley for the last 2 years will give them confidence, and I think winning becomes a habit, and I think that they'll be competing for silverware, so I've got Hull up there. Yeah,
2 Challenge Cups on the bounce for Hull. No Gareth Ellis, which we've mentioned. Danny Houghton, the new captain.
Yeah, great. Very much like James Roby. I think thoroughly deserved. I think he's obviously celebrated his testimonial year this year and has been a great ambassador for Hull. Just 100% game in, game out, and always plays at that level, that quality, and great leader. As I said, those good leaders who lead the way with their performance, and Danny Houghton, outstanding.
His tackle count is phenomenal.
It is. And he makes a joke of it, saying, well, the only reason I make that many tackles is because they all run at me, but he don't miss many, does he? And for someone of that stature to go up against the big boys, and there's some very, very big boys out there, and to stand up each and every game, to be making 60 tackles is phenomenal, and he just keeps coming back for more and more.
And of course, the Hull Derby is back. Hull KR getting promotion. Danny Maguire, I asked him, have you got the wrong turning to training yet? He said it does feel a bit strange, of course, and obviously he'll always have a massive soft spot for Leeds, but it's a good signing that experience for Hull KR.
Outstanding signing. Obviously Jimmy Peacock's had a say in that, head of rugby at Hull KR now, and obviously he knows what Danny Maguire is all about, and as he's proven in his last game in the grand final, he's still got it in the legs and in the brain, and I think an outstanding signing for Hull KR, to get other players around Danny as well. And as you said, that Hull Derby's back. It's a fabulous game, and they're so mad about rugby in Hull. It's going to be a great occasion.
That experience could really make a difference to Hull KR, couldn't it?
Oh, without a doubt. Danny's a fantastic signer. I'm also really, really excited to see Justin Carney back in Super League. I think when he was at Salford before he left, he was the best winger in the competition. Had the stint in the Championship, but now he's back in Super League. I'm looking forward to seeing him. But I agree with Scully. It's great that Hull KR are back. Hull is the only city in England that's Rugby League is the main sport, really, and I think Hull FC. They'll have a joke about it when they got relegated, but I think Hull FC are delighted to have Hull KR back as well, just so they get that derby on, and they get that's the only true genuine derby in Rugby League.
You might disagree. St Helens Wigan, of course. Hull KR lost in that £1 million game in 2016 to Salford. What kind of season do you think Salford have? I mean, they finished 4th in the regular season. Of course, you finish your career at Salford, and then just Super 8s.
Yeah,
couldn't win a game, could they?
Well, I think the semi-final here against Wigan in the Challenge Cup. After that, the wheels fell off a little bit at Salford, but I thought they probably overachieved up to that point. But it was the highest finish they've had for 20 years in the regular season. So they'll be hoping to build on that. I just can't see him getting up to them heights again this year, but I know they are very well coached under Ian Watson, and they've got a reasonable squad. I think with a team like Salford, though, you need to keep all your players injury free. If they can keep them injury free, they'll be competitive. But I just worry if they get 4 or 5 injuries, in tough positions, they might struggle.
So top 8 for Salford. Is that going to be the aim?
That's the aim for
Cross the
Salford.
fingers.
Certainly will be the aim, and I can just see him sneaking in, but I can't see him going above that.
I do want to mention everyone, sorry if we've not done your team in depth, but Huddersfield, awful start last season, but did pick up at the end.
Yeah, had a good finish to the season, but I just obviously left it too much to do. You know, just they're frustrating at times watching Huddersfield, because you look at some of the players that they've got. You know, obviously Jerry McGilvey, Danny Brough. You know, but they're just not consistent enough. You know, on the day they're capable of beating anybody, and obviously a big loss to them last year was Jet Mamo. He come in at fullback and then obviously missed back into the season with a major foot injury. He's fully fit. You know, Huddersfield, as I said, on the day are capable of beating anybody. It's that consistency that they need.
And a word on Jermaine McGilvey. What a World Cup he had.
Outstanding. Absolutely one of the superstars of the competition, and you know, I'm sure he's a player who's wanted by every rugby league team in the world, and you know, Huddersfield have got him. So you know, you hope to see Huddersfield in some big games this year, and Jerry, certainly with an England hat on, you know, causing some problems for people.
A team that was very unlucky last year, that could have quite easily have finished in the playoffs as well, Wakefield. Those 2 games just at the end, they'd have gone just points either way, would have been in the top 4.
Yeah, obviously that last game against Saints as well. But fantastic season. Chris Chester's done a remarkable job there. You know, and I think this year you'll see the benefits of what they did last year as well, because they'll go into, I think, a big surprise to a lot of people last year on how well Wakefield did and how far they went. Now this year, they know themselves they can do that, and I think they'll go into the season fully confident of you know, winning plenty of games and finishing as high as they can. And no doubt about it, target for them will be a top 4.
Yeah, Chris Chester did a great job.
Oh, he did remarkable job, and it just goes to show, you know, years gone by, you wouldn't have picked Wakefield to be doing what they were doing, but it's so evenly contested now, and Scully just said they'll be hoping not just for a top 8 but for a top 4, and there's no reason why they can't. Very well coached, and yeah, they were surprise packages last year, but it won't be a surprise this year if they are up there again.
Widnes, bottom of the regular season, but found a bit of form in the qualifiers.
Yes, they did. A tough season for Widnes. You know, they've not really spent money over the last couple of years to recruit players, and you know, 2 obviously new signings this year: the Wellington brothers, Albert brothers, sorry, and obviously, you know, the loss of the PNG guy was tragic for Widnes. You know, obviously would have been their 3rd signing. A tragic event for them, and hopefully it doesn't have a bearing on their season. You know, their players, I'm sure, will be fired up to start the season well.
And the Catalan Dragons, of course, wasn't really a fortress last year, was it, in France?
It wasn't.
They used to pride themselves on, wasn't it?
Yeah, and massive underachievers for a number of years now. You look at on paper the players that they've got, and they should be achieving better than they did. I mean, obviously to make the £1 million game last year, you know, we don't want to be losing Catalan from Super League.
Word on Catalan Dragons?
Yeah, I fully agree with Scully. Totally underachieved last year, and whether they can build on that now. I mean, to become within 80 minutes of being relegated from Super League is don't bear thinking about, really. But yeah, the only way is up for them guys now. They need to regroup and get back up there. But as you mentioned, it used to be virtually every home game was 2 points. You know, it was a very, very tough place to go across with the travel and the heat and the atmosphere. But you know, the fortress was breached, as they say. They need to get that back going and start picking up the wins and get back up there where we know they should be.
Well, the Catalan Dragons beat Lee in a £1 million game. And Lee are the favourites for the Betfred Championship, and the second favourites are Toronto as well. So I think the Championship this season is going to be very, very good. Toronto and Lee. Featherstone look quite good as well. I think it's going to be very, very competitive is the Championship this year. And also we sponsor League One. So it's the Betfred League One. And Bradford, one of your old clubs, now in League One, but the favourites to go up.
Yeah, well, they should be, really, and who'd have thought it, you know, 4 or 5 years ago, that the mighty Bradford side being two divisions below Super League. So they are where they are now, but they just need to get back up there. And I think for for the surrounding teams, for your Leeds, for your Huddersfields. It's important we get Bradford Bulls back in the Super League, but it's down to them, down to the club, down to the administration to get the Bulls back up there. But if they get, it's a stepping stone by winning Championship 1, and then they'll see how they go next year.
And I spoke to John Kerr, new Bradford coach, obviously plenty of experience at Wakefield last year. He's up for the challenge.
Oh yeah, he's certainly up for the challenge. Fantastic coach. He wouldn't have took the job on if he didn't think he could make an impact there, but it just goes to show how the mighty have fallen. I remember 2005, that was the last time they was crowned champions, and then you wouldn't have thought a decade later they'd be struggling in Championship 1, but they've got it all there. They've got the fan base, they've got the stadium, they've got the name, they've got the brand. Just needs the victories now to get them back up there.
Right, we're running out of time. I said thanks for all your comments, really appreciate it. Sorry I've not read many out, but it all starts tomorrow night. We've got Hull versus Huddersfield, and here live on Sky it's Warrington versus the champion Leeds. Right then, we're next to the famous trophy. Who will be picking it up in October at Old Trafford at the grand final?
James Roby.
So, no surprise. Scully going for St Helens, of course. Justin Holbrook took over in May, doing a great job. Was there? Who's going to lift it?
Chris Hill. He's the captain.
Because he was trying to think that he was captain of Warrington.
Yeah, Warrington. Chris Hill and Warrington.
So, tomorrow night, you're expecting it to be a warm-up for the grand final?
Possibly. I mean, we've seen last year, you don't have to be the best in round 1 or any of the rounds really. You just need to get it right on the night at Old Trafford. But I'm really excited for tomorrow. It should be a fantastic game. The champions against
I know you've gone for Saints and you've gone for Warrington, but I think the beauty of this season, it could be one of, no offence to others, it could be one of 6 teams, couldn't it?
I think that's the great thing, and I know we're joking about it, and obviously we're seeing all the comments come in from the Cast fans and Hull fans, and that's what we want. We want a season where we don't know who's going to win it. We want great games and what a great competition, and I think that's what we're going to get this year.
Okay, so Scully is going for St Helens, Adrian is going for Warrington, and it all kicks off tomorrow night. The Betfred Super League, and we're also this year very proud to sponsor the Championship and League One. Thanks for watching.